excited to see you all. I know it's been a minute. I feel like queuing up Aaliyah. Pick it, pick it. It's been a long time. Shouldn't have left you. Hey, without a dope beat to step two. So I am super excited about this series. It is called Resilience University. Let me give just a little bit of background on it. And of course, if you don't know, I am Kaylin Romaine, the founder and CEO of the Forward Collective Group. I'm an organizational psychologist, executive coach, and former corporate executive by trade. But most important, I'm a founder, just like y'all. And Resilience University was born from my own struggles to navigate all of this economic uncertainty, and I am a person who likes to practice what I preach. So, one of my top personal values, well, actually, I'll name all of them. I have four. They are wisdom, resilience, creativity, and oh, what's the fourth one? I can't believe I'm forgetting the fourth one. Wisdom, resilience, creativity, and freedom. Freedom. Okay, so maybe I'll talk about freedom uh, some other time. Maybe I'll talk about that on the podcast. But anyway, resilience is one of them. And I deeply value my ability to navigate challenges, overcome challenges, find new ways to move through the world. And I think that this year, if you own a business, has been trying times. I also want to recognize the fact that some of us have had to close the businesses that we had before. And if that is your situation, just know that even if you close a company, you don't close your skills, you don't close your capacity for growth, you don't close your capacity for innovation. You just close that entity. So this is still for you, right? Now, Resilience University was born out of the fact that a lot of us might not even know how to navigate it. And this is where my organizational psychology background comes in, because I do this for a living. I quite literally build and structure and develop companies as my full time job. And I love to teach, love training. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to build a university. I also recognized that a lot of the programs that were already existing for this type of development, honestly, a lot of them have closed. And I'm not going to get into politics, and I'm not going to touch it. But I do recognize that a lot of this is driven by the fact that long-standing small business development programs, from webinars to in-house programs in large company supply chains, they might not exist right now. And so the support that folks are used to getting, they just might not have. So this is where Resilience University comes in, because it is our opportunity to learn what it is that we need to do to make informed decisions to navigate uncertainty. I would say that this uncertainty, I mean, I would just buckle up and expect it to continue for at least the next year, year and a half, possibly even longer. And so I want us to be ready, and I want us to have the tools necessary to make the decisions to reach the outcomes that we want. In some cases, some of us might be planning for growth, some of us might be planning for a launch, some of us might be planning an exit, some of us might be planning a merger, right? Whatever the case may be, decisions. That's my goal. So I'm going to be giving information, but in every single session that we have this month, just know it's not just da 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 da, because y'all know I hate just chatter. It is to prepare us to do something with the information that's going to get us where we're trying to go. Okay. So let me just check real quick and make sure. Let me see. I'm trying to check and see, do I have, I don't think LinkedIn is going live, but if not, then I'll try to post this up to LinkedIn later. I don't know why it's not going live. But in any case, another thing that I really want to address is the fact that it's okay not to know answers. I think sometimes as business owners, we rush straight to decision making, and there's a place for that. Like, obviously, again, the goal is to decide and do things, but we also have to build comfort with ambiguity. And I think that's where education comes in too. One of the biggest differences that I experienced when I was going to undergrad. So I'm a Michigan grad, go blue. And one of the things that shocked me, now I went to what would be considered elite high schools and elementary schools. But if you know anything about what would be considered middle class education, it is largely scripted in a lot of ways. Like, you learn great things, it is rigorous, but you learn for the purposes of getting you to particular paths. But when I got to Michigan, it was like, "Oh, no, this is all open creativity." And I remember I took a philosophy class and my political science class, and this is when we had blue books. It's funny because they bringing blue books back, but this when we had blue books, and I kept asking like, "Okay, well, what are we supposed to write about? What should we be, thinking? What are we trying to get to?" And they're like, "Whatever it is that you want." So you come up with the idea, I just teach you the mechanics. And it felt, I mean, I had a visceral reaction to this at the top of it because I was like, "Oh my God, what should I be thinking? What's happening here?" But now I get it, right? Many years down the line, I want to empower you all with the mechanics to make decisions, even if that's not the decision I would have made, even if that's a decision that I've never helped my clients make, even if it's a decision I never heard of. And so, as you build the capacity for that ambiguity as a business owner, as a founder, as a business leader, even because I want to acknowledge the fact that there are going to be some C suite leaders that will see this, and you're not necessarily the CEO, but you play an outsized role in your company. If you learn the mechanics, if you learn the science behind something, if you understand the history even of certain things, then you can make decisions regardless of how other people really might feel about it. You don't have to do what I've done. You don't have to do what the people who I'm going to name have done. You only have to do what you going to do. And that's it. Okay? So with that being said, today, I want to talk about brand refresh, and you're going to see me looking over here at my notes periodically. I want to start by just giving like a little mini framework, and then I'm going to use an example. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat. Um, but I want to start by saying this. And I was talking to a client about this because branding is more than just logos and graphics. Branding is more than slogans. When you look at traditional definitions of branding, it is said that it is the way you make your customers, and in some cases, the general public, feel, right? How do you drive people's associations with who your company proposes that it is? But I want to take it even a step further. I think that branding is the sum total of the sensory experiences that you drive to the public and your target market that then generates certain cognitive and emotional responses. Again, it is the sensory experiences that you drive and create in your company that then lead to cognitive and emotional responses from the general public and hopefully your target market. Now, when we think of sensory experiences, that is the five senses. So, sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. Okay, so taste, smell, touch, hearing, sight. What you do with your brand, it triggers those reactions. So I'll give you an example. Y'all know I'm in Atlanta. I live in the metro Atlanta. So the one of the best examples is going to be Coca-Cola. When I hear a Coca-Cola bottle flip open, right? Or if I hear a certain sound, If I hear it being poured into a glass and I hear the guk, 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 guk sound of bubbles fizzing, if I see that particular shade of red, if I see the particular font style of Coca Cola, if I smell the blend of spices that they use in their signature recipe to create their formula, all of that then triggers a response. Now, emotion, of course, is how we feel. So in some cases, it's going to trigger a feeling of hope, excitement, right? It's going to trigger of nostalgic feeling. So I might start missing my grandparents because maybe I had a great memory of me sitting down eating peanuts and Coca-Cola with my grandmama. Or it could be eating my favorite pizza with a nice glass of Coke. It could be me going to the movie theater to see my favorite movie and having me a big old Coke with my popcorn, right? Feelings. In some cases, it might trigger anger because if I'm on a diet, right, or if I can't drink pop no more, right? Sad bar, hold on, me and dark pop. I don't know. It's doing something to me. And I used to love pop, but I have to be very careful with dark pops. I still sneak me a Coke or a Pepsi, but I don't know. 40 doing something to me. That's a whole other conversation. But it might make me angry because I'm like, I can't have a pop. Right? It could also make me feel relief because I'm like, oh, I just need me a cold pop. It's hot outside. Y'all know it's the summertime right now. Again, it's those feelings. And so actually, I might pull up the emotion wheel. Let me get that ready because I think actually, let me do that right now. Here it is. Okay. So I love this graphic. I actually share it with my clients. I will do my best to link the original file so that folks can get their credit and their backlink traffic. But I think it's important for us to recognize how wide and deep emotions go. And so if you look at this emotion wheel, right? These are the base emotions. So there are like seven, sometimes people count it as like eight base emotions. It could be even as small as five. But these base emotions then go to these more nuanced emotions. So, for example, we talk about fearful. Instead of just saying fearful, right, or afraid, we might say scared, weak, threatened, right? And then it goes even deeper. So, if I'm scared, do I feel helpless? Do I feel frightened? If I'm feeling threatened, do I feel nervous? Do I feel exposed? And so, when you are thinking about a brand refresh, check with an emotion wheel to see what are the nuanced emotions that you want people to feel, but also that you want to avoid. And then that will give you signals into everything from what colors you want to select, the shapes that you might want to play with, the graphics that you might want to explore, the way you structure your slogan, what social channels you choose to show up on, right? And so, if I think, again, we're going to stay with the Coca Cola example for a second. If I want people to feel happy, right? When they are drinking Coca-Cola. Well, maybe I want to go down to playful because I want to trigger your excitement to go outside and be at the park because it's summertime. And so then it might be a sense of arousal because now I want you to be deeply feeling everything around you. I want you to be excited about the sun, the grass, or the beach, and boom, we're gonna drink this Coca-Cola. So now if I'm Coca-Cola, when I'm building my commercials or my social ads, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna show somebody playing, so you enjoying leisure time, you're not at work, you are on the beach with your best friends and you got on a cute little bikini and you running into the water to cool off, and then you realize, oh, I got this Coke sitting in my coat, sitting in my cooler chilling. Now let me drink my Coke. I'm aroused. And I think actually, I don't remember if it was Coke or Pepsi, but they had a commercial where you could literally see like goosebumps developing on people's skin when they heard the bottle crack open, right? Again, this is how you start driving, like I said, these sensory experiences that are connected to emotion. So, like I said, please, please, please think carefully through this emotion wheel when you're developing your brand refresh because you might accidentally repel people because you didn't think through the range of emotions that they might feel, right? Conversely, if I'm Coca Cola, even if you look at what's on the opposite, for example, of happy. I don't want people to feel angry and aggressive, right? So maybe in my commercial, I don't emphasize the bubbles as much, right? Because that's an aggressive uh emotion that you might associate with that. I give you an example. Like if you think about when people be drinking McDonald's Sprite and they like it bites you. And it is funny because that listen, that's fountain soda be something else. But maybe that's not the emotion I want to drive in the commercial when I really want people to feel playful, right? All right. So, like I said, it's the emotional connection to these sensory experiences, but then there's also the cognitive side. Now, cognition has 7 parts to it, and I talk about cognition. I'm looking to see if I got a copy of my book somewhere. But in my book, Evolution to Equity, I talk about cognition and the 7 parts of cognition. And I do that because I think sometimes we only think of cognition from like a couple of directions. So sometimes we think of cognition as just attention. And sometimes we think of cognition as usually like short term memory. But again, there are 7 parts to cognition. And what you do in your brand makes all the difference in the world to people's cognitive connections through the sensory experience. So, actually, I do see the book. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. I did not know I was going to do this. So, y'all going to hear some rustling around. But cognition is funny because let me see, here it is. Cognition is funny because usually they are interdependent. I'll say it like that. So very rarely, unless you are in an extreme case, is it just one process at a time. So I wanted to read the 7 parts. This is my book, Evolution to Equity. It is available for purchase at Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So please go check it out. But the 7 aspects of cognition are knowledge acquisition, learning, thought, attention, memory, perception, and language. Again, that's knowledge acquisition, learning, thought, attention, memory, perception, and language. So, what you do through your brand impacts all 7 of those parts. There are things that have been added to the public lexicon because of a brand. So if you think about the phrase just do it, immediately you think about Nike. When you think about the word bootylicious, immediately you're thinking about Destiny's Child, right? And they all of these companies, these bands, these artists, they developed their brand in such a way that they drive the way we speak about what we do. Um, and it's funny because this is where we start getting into conversations around cultural appropriation because when a brand is associated to a particular culture, whether that is based on race, gender, sexual orientation, any aspect of identity, that becomes your calling card and the association you make. So when you co-opt that without appropriately giving credit, you not only steal the social currency that people receive from their creativity, but you also dilute it a little bit because the incredible part about brands is that they are connected with all of their elements. What I mean by it is this: Nike does not make, I'm just going to stick with Nike because we were talking about just do it. Nike does not make 6-inch stiletto heels because Nike is built as an athletic brand. And even if they move toward being more like athleisure versus performance sports, they have a realm in which they operate. And if they were to try to co opt some of the same brand elements as Christian Louboutin, or Badgley Mishka, it wouldn't make sense and it would dilute the entire genre because Nike doesn't exist as a couture, uh, dressy footwear company. That's not their realm. And so I want you to be careful with the brand refresh. This is the point of me saying this. I want you to be careful with your brand refresh with trying to chase trends or chase other people because you don't know what it takes necessarily to exist in their realm. And that realm could be their industry, their target market, or even the pace. And I think this is a really good one too, the pace of that industry. Stay in your lane. So this goes for product and service-based businesses. If you are a beverage company, everything that a potato chip company does might not be for you. If you are a furniture company and you make custom wood furniture, you can't necessarily do the same thing that, fast brands like, let's say, an IKEA does, because it's not going to land the same. It's not built for the pace, right? It might take you 6 months to build something. Like, I'll give you an example. I bought my couch um from, was it Interior Define? Yeah, I think it was Interior Define. And I had to wait, was it like 4 months? I got it some years ago, y'all. So I'm trying to remember, but it was like a few months. But the idea was, ma'am, we making your couch, right? And I was excited to get it because I got to pick the color and I got to pick what type of legs and how long did I want it to be. And did I want it to be a really deep couch or did I want it to be a little bit more narrow and custom fit for my space? That was exciting. And guess what? I was willing to pay for that. I was willing to wait for that. I was willing to buy into the excitement of that. So now we're going back to emotion, right? Because they fit in a brand of, we're custom making your furniture. If you want something that's cute, maybe it'll last, maybe it won't, but you need to pick it up today. IKEA right down the street, right? If you want something that's ready made and it's super matchy and you want a whole set, guess what? Ashley Furniture, Value City Furniture, Rooms to Go, they right down the street. You can go to them. And to be clear, there is a lane for all of those paths. Believe me, I IKEA down. If y'all see my office, all my bookcases are from IKEA, and some of them are like a decade old. They done moved across the country with me about 3, 4 times. So this is not hate to IKEA by any stretch of the imagination. I love them. I done also been the Value City Ashley Furniture girl. I got some furniture from them. I think this couch in my office from Wayfair. But my bedroom furniture, right? It came from was it Value City? I done had that for years too. But I think it came from there. Right. So this is no shade, no hate to all of it. It all has a place in my house. Right. But it's a different driver of an experience. Right. And when we talk about that sensory experience, I didn't get to touch my custom made couch or go sit on it in a showroom, right? I also didn't get the pleasure of putting it together like I did with my IKEA furniture, but I got the sensory experience of being able to see it online of like, oh my goodness, each of these pieces is going to fit together. I got the chance to experience the joy, right? And the thought process. Now we're talking about cognition of what it do I exactly want this furniture to look like. If I don't want this type of leg, I actually want a chrome leg instead of a gold leg. I got to feel that. And so, depending on the experience that you want your target customer to have, that's what's going to drive how you set up everything from website design to your uh, ordering processes to the partners and vendors that you work with to, like I was saying earlier, the social channels you show up on, because those people are going to be willing to pay for and quite literally buy into the experience that you're offering them. So, what does that mean? Now, let's talk about how that shows up in pieces. So, to me, branding has like 5 elements, maybe 6. The first is the recognition, and that's things like your logo, your slogan, and the graphics that are associated with your brand. So when I refreshed my company, so a lot of y'all probably know that I used to be Dream Forward Consulting. And that was the first name of my company. And it was built around this idea of like thought bubbles, but then a forward arrow. And I was intentional about the colors because I wanted the sky blue that feels like a dream and you up in the clouds, but then grass green that feels like growth and movement. And I built the color scheme around that. And then I made sure that that arrow and that thought bubble was incorporated into my training decks and my socials, and my social templates and my website design and all of those things. But when I switched and renamed and refreshed myself to the Forward Collective Group, which now I can't even believe it's almost a year old. That's like crazy to me. But when I refreshed to the Forward Collective Group, I thought about, okay, one, if I just completely change the name, then people will be like, who the heck is that? So I was like, I got to keep something. And I did still like, the name Dream Forward. But I was like, I'll keep the forward part. So right away, I was like, all right, if people thinking forward, that arrow is still relevant, but not necessarily that style. And then I was like, okay, so that means that I want to keep some element of green. And then I said, man, what to me feels like grounded, because a part of it was that I was expanding some of the services that I offered. I was going global and being very intentional about that. So I was like, okay, I need something that feels more connected to that. And when I thought of collective, I was like, you know what? Purple feels very royal, but especially like the deep purples is very grounding. And so then I selected these two purple colors. Y'all probably don't even know it's actually two different purples. Um, but I selected these two purples, and then I love turquoise. Like turquoise is my favorite color, has been for a very long time. And I was like, I want it to still be a piece of me there. And that turquoise feels exciting to me. So I brought in the turquoise. And then actually in prayer is where I came up with the navy blue. And I felt like God shared that with me. And at the time I was like, navy blue don't go with this. This is weird. But now, as the brand has evolved over the past year, it does. And I'm going to explain why in a second. But my brand colors are a creamish color, two purples, turquoise, and then a navy color. And then the green. It's not the grass green like it was for Dream Forward, but it's more of um an airy green. It's not lime, it's softer than that. But to me, it feels I don't even know how to explain it. It's again, it's still green, which to me symbolizes go and movement, which is where forward comes in, but it's lighter, right? To for me, balance out the heaviness of the navy and the two purples. So I got the turquoise and that lighter green. Now, how all this fit together, that D, which is like three things layered on top, that's the idea of collective, that is all together moving forward, right? And that's that collective group side. So as I'm now moving the brand, I'm thinking about, all right, well, I need lines that symbolize forward movement. And at first, when I developed it, it was like very thin lines. So you'll still see that in some places. But then as I kept going, I was playing around on Canva and I was like, no, I want like thicker lines that feel like some weight to it with some shadow. So again, it feels like movement. And so then I developed that graphic and started putting that places. So you'll see that on pretty much all of my banners and stuff now. Playing with fonts, right? I wanted something that felt like an announcement, like calling out to you. So the header fonts look like newspapers, right? If you think about old school newspaper, like in the 50s, 60s, that's what that font is kind of designed to look like. And then I wanted something that was like a sans serif font, because it's to me that just felt easy to read in digital. And so I picked that for the majority of the writing. And then I actually had to change it. So if you've seen anything from maybe like August to November, it was actually a slightly different font, but I changed it because the original sans serif font that I picked, it wasn't available on all the platforms I needed it to be. So I picked something that was more universal. Now, I walked y'all through that whole process because I want to emphasize the fact that, again, there is intentionality to access, likability, nostalgia, right? Again, those cognitive and emotional experiences that I want to drive that when people see it, when they hear it, when they feel it, when they get to touch it. Now, for me, because I'm a service based business and I don't have products, it is important to me that I reflect the brand. And it's going to be very important for my solopreneurs that are going to watch this because you are the brand. And so if you ever see me out at a conference, most of the time out at events, almost period, at least if it's a one-day experience that day, but if it's a multi-day, at least one of them days you're gonna see me in my brand colors. At least once, but probably a lot. I do that on purpose because I am the visual representation of my brand. My voice is the visual representation of my brand. The way I hug people, shake hands, the way I write things down or take notes, how I collect people's information. I'm picking up my phone because I have a digital business card, right? All of that is the sensory experience of the brand. So for my solopreneurs who are going to watch this, or people who are running very small teams, sometimes people are not buying into your brand because you don't represent what you say you do. I gotta call it out because it comes up for Atlanta a lot when we talk about businesses and folks call it like the grass wall thing and all that stuff. Now, some of it is like, low key anti-blackness, let's keep it a buck, and some of it is you know, xenophobia, some of it is misogyny. But some of it is a little true where it's like if you purporting yourself to be this champagne level business, but you got, you know, off-brand beer practices, that's not in alignment. And I don't want to pay for that. Right. One thing, and this is just a personal gripe that I hate. I'm talking about I really hate this, y'all. Folks love the hype effect, right? So folks do these drops and they'll say, "Oh, it's some coming, but you don't know what it is." And you're like, "Okay, what's that?" Right? It's like super secret squirrel. Or you go to come to something, they say it starts at 6 o'clock, or it begins at 12, and they got everybody lined up. So now they running drones and they got the videographers taking pictures of this big old line. I can't stand that. And it ain't just cause I don't feel like standing out in the sun because I'm old. I just can't stand it because to me that means that's poor business practices. Period. Folks should not have to feel like they are at a rave to engage with your brand. That is inappropriate, and to me that cheapens the value of your brand. If you say something starts at noon or 6 o'clock, if you say tickets are going to be available at such and such time, if you say, "Hey, I'm going to be offering this and you get 3 of this," it needs to be available. Period. I don't know how we've bought into this hype, and I bring up Atlanta with that because Atlanta good for that. I'm talking about Atlanta is good. That's why I don't always be at a lot of stuff. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, because I don't be with all that. You crammed up against the door waiting to get in, and the creators or the founders or the organizers, they hype because, oh, look, everybody waiting to get in my stuff, baby. That's poor event management. That's poor brand management. If it started at 12, the doors needed to open at 11:30, if not 11, to give people a chance to get in, get their seat, get comfortable, get some water or get a drink, get a snack if you have snacks available, mingle a little bit, and that's it. One thing that I love about the gathering spot is that if something start at 7, that's about 10, like the event itself probably gonna start close today, but you get a chance to like come in, kick it. They got the bar and the big meeting room or conference room, like a big event space. If y'all been, y'all know. You go get a drink, you get to sit, kick it, kiss people on the cheek, give folks a hug, catch up a little bit. They're gonna be passing the hors d'oeuvres or the small plates and bites. If they got food, 9 times out of 10, the food gonna come out, so you gonna be full. Then we're gonna start the event. If you don't want to kick it in the big room while you waiting, cool. Go over to the restaurant, get you something to eat, then come in, kick it. Like there is a hominess to it. There is a level of familiarity that you breed and comfort. Again, going back to that emotion wheel, right? I don't want people frustrated, mad, hot, angry before they even get into the event. And then I'm expecting people to sit down and pay attention or pay top dollar to buy 3 combos or get 5 parachutes. Come on. It's a no. Like it's just a no, it's a no all around. Period. And so how you set up that brand feeling, if we take just the feeling, right, which is like touch, that makes a difference. Because if I'm mad, guess what? I'm going to try to be in and out of there. I don't want to sit and engage for no long time. So let's move away from that hype stuff. Hype is gone. Ignore that mess. You want people to feel grounded in your brand. You want people to feel comfortable. And also, you want that to happen because if you think about it, most shopping experiences now happen online and it's usually optimized for mobile and digital. So I'm used to being able to shop in my pajamas. Like I'm literally sitting here in my drawers looking at the sizes and the colors and da da da. Why would I get up and leave the comfort of my home? To be waiting around and going back and forth with you, like it's just not gonna happen, right? And it's just not cool. So that's a part of the brand experience too. Similarly, your accessibility and reachability. I know reachability is not a word. I know it's not. I know it's not. I know it's not a word. But how you're able to be accessed as a leader also makes a difference for the brand. We hear it all the time from people that's like, oh, so and so didn't even want to speak. So and so was rude. So and so was nasty when we saw them. And I get it, like depending on what you do. Um, folks they might try you. Like they might come up and try to be overly friendly or touch on you and stuff. But it also depends on how you set up those interactions early in the game. So for example, when folks see me at events, conferences, things like that, they'll come, "What's up? How you doing?" Because guess what? That's how I approach them. "What's going on? How are you? Oh my gosh, I missed you," right? Sometimes I glitch on people's names because it'd be a lot going on in my mind, but I always try to offer like a friendly smile or like remember something about them or a conversation or just like check in with them. And I set my like standard or normal warmth to that so that even on my worst days, I can at least give that. Now, if I'm having a great day, then I can go like above and beyond. But like the baseline is that I'm gonna be like, hey, what's going on? Right. So some of us get too friendly from the beginning, right? And this is, I think, especially important for women and women of color, because there may come a point in your brand where you do want folks to be a little more formal with you, but you done created such a casual brand that now folks are like, well, why you got such a bad attitude? Like you always say blah 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 to people. And now you like, I don't want to do that no more. So be intentional about your brand refresh to think about how you want people to engage when your brand is at its most successful, most famous. So for me, I have now, especially in this phase with the Forward Collective refresh, I used to do a lot more like discovery. I don't want to say discovery calls. I still do discovery calls with clients, but a lot more I don't want to call it mentorship. Let's say like open calls. where people could just like reach out, grab time, we just chit chat. Um, I used to do a lot more almost like favors for people, like, hey, okay, yes, I'll make this intro. Hey, I'll do this. When I decided that I was gonna do the brand refresh last year, I knew I needed to pull back on that because a part of what I realized was that I know the types of folks I was engaging with, they were a lot more private and the industry had become a lot more saturated than it was, I think, when I first started. Um, and also, um, a lot of the opportunities I'm going for now, I don't necessarily want to share with everybody. Like, period. Like, I just don't. And so I knew I had to start navigating away from having that level of openness. So I took away my just like connect call where it's like anybody could reach me at any time. I'm very careful on who I hand that out to. I don't have like the general discovery call booking link all over my website like I did before. You know, it's there for certain services, but you have to select from a drop down and put which type of service that you're going for with that. You know what I mean? Like I set up the user experience of engaging with my brand in such a way that you contact me how want you to contact me. My phone number is not on my digital business card. I don't always get that out to people. You know, I manage expectations with responses. So like there are times where I'm up late at night doing stuff. I might schedule that email to go out the next morning so that new people who I engage with, they don't think, oh, I can hit Kaylin up on, Saturday night at 2 in the morning and she gonna respond instantly. No, that's not for everybody anymore. And that's a part of your brand too, right? So I know all of this probably seems unrelated, but this is a part of that brand refresh too. Like I said, it's the part where we're thinking about logos and graphics and stuff, but it's also the experience of engaging with your brand. So that customer experience, CX, user experience, UX is very important too. Branding is also how you fulfill your brand promises, right? There are some brands where they simply deliver what they said they were going to do. And I mean, we ain't mad at that. Like, you said you was going to get, a hamburger and fries. That's exactly what you got. You ain't get no more and you ain't get no less. But then there are brands where it's like they over delivering. Every time you engage with them, I mean, they just go above and beyond. And then there are brands that consistently underdeliver. Like going into it that it's like, child, I might get what I wanted, but then again, I might not, right? And all of them have a place too, right? Like I don't go to a five-star restaurant expecting to just get my food sat on the table any kind of way. And I'm certainly not going for a buffet where I got to go get it myself. Right? There's a difference between the Golden Corral experience, which no shade, because Golden Corral do be good, versus a Longhorn experience. No shade. I love Longhorn. I'm probably gonna go there probably this week. But it's different than going to Morton's or Eddie V's. Is it Eddie V's? I love that steakhouse too. I went, I think in Memphis or something like that, either Memphis or Nashville. But there's a difference between all those tiers. There's a level of catering that goes into it that makes the price point worth it, which takes me to the next element of branding, your pricing. Do not price your brand outside of what you know you can deliver. Period. And this goes to how expensive something is, but then also how you discount things when needed. So, this is particularly important for my service based businesses because look, I get it. Competition is fierce, and you like, all right, I'm gonna just go dirt cheap on services. I'm gonna offer everything pro bono. Don't do that because you building an expectation. You are telling people what they should be able to expect from you. And if you're not going to keep that up, I wouldn't touch that. I wouldn't touch that. I only take my prices so low, and I very rarely now offer pro bono services. I mean, extremely rare, extremely rare. And if it's pro bono or I'll toss in like some freebies and extras, it is with a select number of clients. I don't do that for everybody, and I don't apologize for that because how you set up your standard pricing and your discount pricing is going to make all the difference in the world because people come to expect things. So, here is how I set up my pricing as a brand. First of all, I decide if it's going to be B to G, which is business to government, B to B, meaning large corporate, B2B, small and emerging business, or direct to consumer, or you could even think B to C. So B to C, D to C. Things that are direct to consumer, those would be my online classes and my book. I have two offerings for that. The price is the price. So you see a price on there, that's the price. I give a slight discount for getting 3 classes. So you get a percentage off of buying 3 courses. But if you pay for 1 or 2 courses, just the standard price. It's on the website. It's very simple. Price there, pay your money, you get it. That's it. My B to G services, I offer a slightly discounted price because I know from working in government and from having a ton of government clients that they typically have like a hard ceiling set for things. And the procurement process in government is so cumbersome that, again, I've been doing this so long, I know about the range of the pricing that they can accept, but I make my money back by volume. So with government, let's say your standard price for something is $500 an hour. It's just an example. Well, the going rate for government is usually like, let's say 300 an hour for that type of service. To be competitive on your pricing, you might even bid at a level of 250 per hour. But because the procurement process is not only cumbersome for you as the vendor, but also for them as the agency, they ain't trying to find a new vendor every 6 months or even every year. So once you in there, you might work with them for like literally 10, 15 years. It might not be some every month, but it'll be fairly consistent work for a long time, depending on what you're doing. So the volume of being able to consistently get referred back and even to other agencies, government agencies talk, so they'll tell their peers and other, hey, go to Kaylin. She always got it. She good, blah, blah, blah. So you'll make your money back in the volume, not necessarily upfront on the per cost. So I make my pricing based off of that. Obviously, I'm not undercutting myself to the point that I can't make money, but again, volume for me is the name of the game with B2G. On the B2B side for large corporates, I know that they usually can and will pay more per engagement, but it's flighty money because if somebody leave and go get another job or if they change priorities or whatever, you might not hear back from them for a year, two, or even more. So I price it generally at just my standard rate. Now, if we on contract for like, hey, actually, Caleb, we want to work with you for 5, sets of this, 5 trainings. So how much is the price per training? This and that. Like different companies have different calculations for that. I might create a little wiggle room, especially if it's like a prestigious brand that I want to have on my list of past performance. Or if it's, somebody I've known a long time. Sometimes it might be a former coworker or something like that. But generally with corporate, it's like the price is the price. Now, with small businesses, this is where I lean more toward high price for direct to consumer because this is where you got Sally Sue. "Well, I only got $200. What can I do?" Is this because what I found is that when you discount stuff so low for small businesses, first of all, it ends up being a headache in terms of everything they demand, but also they expect it every time. and they never want to go back up to whatever your actual price is. So, no, will I charge them the exact same as I charge a corporate client? No, because I know 9 times out of 10 they don't have it, and to me that's just gouging. But I also don't do a race to the bottom, period, because I don't want that to be the association with my brand either. My price is my price, and usually at that point I start with, "Tell me what's your budget," and they'll say, "Well, I only got $500 to spend on this." Okay, I can work with that, but here's what I can offer for that. That way we ain't going back and forth, because efficiency is also one of my top values. So I don't like a lot of rigmarole and back and forth with anybody. And that is a part of my brand too. So the last point I'll say, because we coming up on time, is your brand, the last element to consider are the values that drive it, right? My brand's values are efficiency, creativity, and intimacy. And that's, I don't, do I still got it on the website? I don't remember, but I know it's on my capability statement. I think I took it off the website. Um, but that's important to me, right? Like when you engaging with Forward Collective Group, I'm gonna try to get stuff done as quickly as possible. I'm not gonna sacrifice quality. The quality gonna be A1, but I don't believe in wasting a lot of time, because I know from when I worked in corporate, high consultants would just BS around just to get more billable hours, and I hate that. And I know I'm gonna be ready to move on at a certain point. I'm not trying to drag this out. We're gonna get this done quick. I also value creativity. Even if I have, a training that's like a standard training, or if I have some product, right? It could be an executive coaching service or something like that. My employee experience survey product, I still customize it for every client because every client got different needs. It could be, hey, I'm gonna give you a pre and a post strategy session because I see y'all need some help with figuring out how to apply this. Or it could be, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. Let's do an all hands kickoff where I'll talk to the whole company live. Oh man, it's hard for us to get everybody together because we globally dispersed. No problem. I'll record the kickoff call and then you can post it up on y'all intranet or on Slack so people can get familiar with me, right? I will customize the exercises because maybe, for your company, for what you do, is certain trigger words that y'all can't use. No problem. Hey, I'll meet with, the leadership team in two separate groups because it's such like there's that level of creativity that for me adds that personal touch, and that's the brand difference. And then finally for me it's intimacy. I really like getting to know my clients like a whole lot. Like I really enjoy my clients a lot. Any client that I work with, I'm so grateful that even at my company's brokest moments, and there have been a few, if I don't feel like I really like you, I'm just not going to work with you, period. Because for what I do, I have to find joy, ironically, in your problems, as crazy as that sounds. I have to find joy in you. I have to have faith that you want to solve this issue. I have to have the hope that you're going to stick with it. And that even when I walk away, you still gonna hold on to this. If I don't feel like that, I'm either not gonna work with you from the beginning. If I feel like you are belligerent or folks are rude, I will terminate a contract because I'm not even gonna get rude. I done had some clients that's like off the chain, and I'm like, hey, let me try to find a way to work around this. We're gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna talk to you about it, right? Like there are ways that you approach this work, and so that intimacy means that we really rocking. We in a relationship. When you working with me, we like this. And I start my client calls with, "Hey, what's up? How you doing? Oh, I saw such and such you posted. Oh, girl, I saw you was at such and such event. You look so cute. Or I saw y'all had this event that looked cool." Right? Like I want to engage with them. That's a hallmark of my brand. And so when you refresh your brand, I also want you to be very clear on your values. What do you value as a brand? What matters to you? What do you hold dear? And then how will you communicate that and infuse that into every part of the brand experience? So that's all I got for us today. I know we wrapping up. I encourage you to watch this replay over again, check it out, and drop some questions. If you have questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I'm so excited about this series. Again, we doing Resilience University all this month. And be sure to sign up for the next session, which is going to be next Tuesday, July the 15th, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern. If you miss it, you can always catch the replay on YouTube. I'm going to try to get this on LinkedIn. I can't believe that LinkedIn didn't load up. But yeah, that's wild to me. I got to check it out to make sure I fix it for next week. But I'm looking forward to seeing your questions or your comments, and I will see y'all next Tuesday. Bye.